Let us look at electoral systems in the Caribbean. What is it that you need to know? First, you should be able to define electoral system and constituency, identify the two electoral systems in the Caribbean, give examples of a country that use each electoral system, and distinguish between the first past the post and the proportional representation system. Okay, let's begin with the first past the post system. It says, point 1, in this system, a country is divided into constituencies. This is one way of identifying whether or not a country is using first past the post or proportional. Once you see various constituencies, two or more constituencies, you know that it's a first past the post system. Now, just like Jamaica, which uses a first past the post system, the country is divided into constituencies. So, for example, one parish, like St. James, is divided into several electoral divisions. St. James East Central, St. James West Central, St. James West. Now, each political party nominates a candidate for election in each constituency. Now, we recently had our election, and before election day, you would have heard about nomination day. And this is where the political parties nominate their candidates for election in the various constituencies. So once we have candidates representing constituencies, we know that the system is a first past the post system. Let us look at point 3. So the country is divided, party nominates candidate for each constituency. Now it's time to vote. The candidate that gets the most vote in a constituency will win the election in that constituency and become the constituency's representative in the lower house in parliament. Let's say, for example, in our recent election, St. James West Central constituency, we had two candidates, Malahoo Ford for JLP and Andrew Horton for PNP. Now, Malahoo Ford, let us say, for example, she got 4,000 plus votes. Andre got 3,000 plus votes. Now, the candidate with the most votes would have won that constituency. So, based on our example, Malahoo Fort would have won that constituency. But instead of getting 4,000 seats, by the way, we don't have so much seats in Parliament. Winning, even despite the amount of votes that she won by, she only gets one seat. So a candidate who wins a constituency will get a seat. And we are voting for these persons to represent us in government. And these persons who are elected by the voters, they are elected to represent us in the lower house in parliament. Now, this system is used by all Commonwealth Caribbean countries except Guyana. So yes, Jamaica uses this system, the first past the post system. How do we identify it? A common way of identifying a first past the post system is that the country is divided into constituencies and there are candidates representing each constituency. The candidate who wins a constituency gets a seat in parliament. So how do we determine the winner? The party who gets the most seats will then form the government. Now, the next electoral system in the Caribbean is the proportional representation system. It's like the opposite of the first past the post. In this system, the country is treated as a single constituency, so there's no division. Remember, we said that a first past the post will find two or more constituencies. But in the proportional, the country is treated as one constituency. Now, since there is no division, there is no representation of various division by candidates. So what happened is that political parties prepare a list of candidates based on the number of seats in parliament. So if there are 10 seats in parliament, all the political parties vying for election will prepare a list of 10 candidates if there are 10 seats. If there are 60 seats, they'll prepare a list of 60 persons. Now, this list is placed in order of preference. So persons who they would prefer to be awarded seats or persons who are very important to them in getting seats, their names will fall in the top part of the list. Right? This list is then made public. People don't vote for a candidate, they actually vote for the party because we don't have candidates representing a constituency. Now, when a party wins, if they win by 20% of the votes, they will get 20% of the seats, which will go to the first 20% of the names on the list. And this is why we call it a proportional representation system, because the same proportion of votes gives you the same proportion of seats, which go to the same proportion of names on the list. Unlike the first past the post, no matter how much a person wins by, they only get one seat. Now, what is the difference between these two systems? Let's go back. So, one difference. The first past the post, the country is divided into constituencies. The proportional representation, the country is not divided. In the first past the post, we can say that candidates represent a constituency, while in the proportional representation, there is no division. Therefore, candidates do not represent a particular area. Another difference is that for the first past the post, it is the number of seats that determine the winner, while in the proportional, it is the number of votes that determine the winner. In the first past the post system, people vote for the candidate, while in the proportional representation system, people vote for the party. Now let us try an activity to see if we can identify the difference between these two systems. All right, so here we have a table. This is the election results for a particular Okay, so here we have election results for a particular country. On this side, we have constituencies. Now, how many constituencies do we have? So we have constituencies for this column. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 constituencies. How many political parties do we have? We have 3, ATP, SIP, and DAP. Now, which type of electoral system would this represent? You are correct. It is a first past the post system. Now, how do you know that it's a first past the post system? We know because there are several constituencies: Westlink, Park Hall, Battville, Springtown, and Newtown. Therefore, we know that it is a first past the post system. Now, let us look at the votes. We say that in a first past the post system, persons vote for candidates. So we have three political parties. And in Westlink, the candidate for ATP got 200 votes. SIP, the candidate got 250 votes. Who would win? Which party would have won this seat? If you said SIP, you are correct with 250 votes. So they would not get 250 seats, but they would get one seat in parliament. So far, SIP has one seat. Now let us look at the next constituency, Park Hall. Which party won this constituency? If you said ATP, you are correct. They won with 330 votes, so ATP gets one seat. So far, SIP has one seat and ATP has one seat. Now let us look at the constituency of Battville. Which party would have won this constituency? If you said DAP, you are correct with 435 votes. So SIP has one seat, ATP has one seat, and DAP also has one seat. Let us look at the constituency of Springtown. Who would have won this? If you said ATP, you are correct. So far, ATP now has two seats. SIP has one and DAP has one. Now the last constituency of Newtown, we have 110, 100 not contested. Who would have won? ATP again. So far, ATP wins the constituency of Newtown, the constituency of Springtown, and the constituency of Park Hall. So ATP has 3 seats, SIP has 1 seat, and DAP has 1 seat. So which party would form the government? That's correct. ATP has the highest number of seats, therefore they would form the government. Now, what does it mean by not contested? Notice there are no figures there for this party, which means they did not have any candidate for these 3 constituencies that say not contested. Now, even though ATP won 3 seats, the total votes is saying 1,510. Sorry, let me go back. While for SIP, the total vote is saying 1,540. Now, for a first past the post system, we do not look at the votes to determine the winner. We look at the number of seats that are won. And ATP has 3 of 5 seats, therefore, they will form the government, even though the votes say 1,510 to SIP's 1,540. Now, this is a disadvantage of the first past the post system. It is saying that even though majority of the population voted for SIP, ATP is the winner of the election. These questions were based on the table, which political party won the most seats in the general election. If we go back and look who won the most seats, that would be ATP. Name the political party that will form the government. The answer would still be ATP because we are looking at the seats to determine the winner. So ATP has the most seats, therefore they will form the government.